Here's what we know, because we can see it all around us. We're overeating. Ireland is increasingly an overweight and obese country. And every day we hear the same message: stick to a balanced and healthy diet. Everything in moderation. Great advice, but it doesn't seem to change anything. So in this programme, I want to find out exactly what is Ireland eating, what is fueling our obesity crisis, and get the latest scientific thinking on what our eating habits are doing to us, and find out just why is it we can't seem to stop.
We need food. Every living thing needs energy to get through the day, the week, a drought, famine, or a long winter. The problem is, as neuroscientist Dr. Paul Kenny knows, that for most of human evolution, calories have been precious or scarce. Finding food has been hard work.
If you have access to a food that's rich in calories, going to help you survive and transmit your genes, it makes perfect sense that that's the food you should eat.
So early man had a very good reason for storing food, because he didn't know when he was going to get his next meal. And we haven't evolved from that, but we do know when we're going to get our next meal, and chances are it's going to be in a couple of hours' time.
Absolutely. And our brains are used to having not enough food over generations and generations, and that's not the case now. So we're not quite as good at limiting our food intake as we are as actually going and looking for food. The past 40 to 50 years have been remarkable, totally different in any stage of human evolution. I mean, I could walk probably down to a cafeteria here in front and buy any food I wanted. I'd be just laden, and it tastes really good and be laden in calories. And that's kind of unique for any species of animal on the planet. So we can get any food we want pretty much whenever we want it. So we haven't really adapted to this change in the environment.
We are surrounded by food. We're almost oblivious as to how much food is on offer and how much we're eating. And these shots that you sent us are just a selection of what Ireland is actually eating. We get more than half our daily calories from the Irish staples: meat, bread, spuds, dairy and biscuits and cakes. We spend more on snacks than we do on fruit and veg. There's too much salt in our food, and over 60% of us are eating more than our recommended intake of fat.
I mean, fundamentally, we overeat on all foods. So for some people that's overeating on snack food, for some people it's overeating on savouries, for some people it's over on sweet things, for some people it's alcohol. So it varies, but fundamentally, we're overeating.
Most people probably have quite a poor appreciation of the amount of calories that they get from certain foods and certain drinks. I think that is probably one of the reasons why people don't alter their behaviour.
A huge proportion of our daily food doesn't have a label or a guideline on it. Almost a quarter of the food we eat is prepared outside the home, so we have no control over what's gone into it or the size of the portions.
Obviously, it is really hard to stick within your guideline daily limits if you don't know exactly what is in your food, or if you don't read the labels, or, let's be honest about it, if you don't know what your guideline daily limits are. But, and this is really interesting, Safe Food have just completed a study down to the last gram of fat and salt of some of Ireland's favourite foods, takeaways.
Yes.
What's that?
Pepperoni.
Ireland's top 3 takeaways are Chinese, pizza and burgers, and this group are all big fans.
They're the worst things you expect.
It's so good.
We decided to look at takeaways because they're a definite feature of modern living. I suppose the other thing is that they're often eaten in a relatively mindless way without a plate and knife and fork, so you don't tend to think of what you're eating to a large extent.
Ladies first. There you go, sir. Boiled rice. That must be the egg fried rice, is it?
If we're looking at fried rice, in a portion of fried rice, we were talking about 700 calories.
Did anybody order sweet and sour, or you ordered sweet? So there you go.
If we're looking at an average chicken sweet and sour, we're talking about upwards of 1,200 calories.
How's the sweet and sour?
And in a portion of prawn crackers, we were talking about upwards of 600 calories.
These little boys, the little prawn crackers, just that portion, 104 grams, is 600 calories.
Again, a single visit to a Chinese with a main course, a rice side dish, and the obligatory prawn crackers, and I have had my daily allowance.
Well, you've had well in excess of your daily allowance.
And the real kicker, as we all know having tasted it, you are at 150% of your salt allowance for the day with just this one meal.
So it's not possible to be moderate in terms of the rest of your intake unless you're going to eat nothing for the rest of the 24 hours, which, you know, isn't practical.
I honestly didn't realise it was that bad. Yeah, I didn't.
You'd sit down, wouldn't you, and you would eat those without even thinking about it before you get to that meal. Who ordered burgers? What did you order, a quarter pounder? With cheese. Who's going to take a guess then at this? Quarter pounder with cheese. And I'm going to take a bite while you all guess.
500.
Well, if you have a quarter pounder and you have cheese and bacon, and if you have large portion of fries and a large drink, you are talking about upwards of 2,000 calories.
That's a woman's typical entire daily calorie allowance in one meal. The survey also found that a 12-inch pizza is the average size consumed by one person.
How many of us in a single sitting would wolf the whole 12-inch?
Oh God, you can do it, yeah.
And the rest. And dessert.
And more, and the trimmings, the garlic bread, and the... And would you eat the whole pizza in the one sitting?
Yeah, and then you get the buy one, get one free, and you have the other one the next day.
In the Safe Food survey, the average 12-inch pepperoni pizza had 2,000 calories.
That is your entire daily allowance in one meal.
I'm really surprised by the fact that the margherita pizza is, what, 1,200?
Yeah.
And then you go from that to a few, just throw a few pepperonis and it just skyrockets then.
We are the ones eating all those calories. I wanted to hear from one of the people making and selling them. Robert Pendleton is the boss of the Irish-owned Apache Pizza chain.
Do you think that you have, do you accept that you might have a role in the obesity epidemic?
No.
At all?
Well, no. What we're trying to do is educate people to what they should be eating. Our role is not to say to a person, don't eat that. All we can do is give them the information. I mean, exercise plays an integral part in the obesity problem. The sedentary life, the sitting in front of the PlayStations or the TV, that's where the main cause is. The basis is where most of the calories are. So if you give them the option of having less calories by getting a thinner base or a super thin base, then they may choose that. But it's about balance. It's not about the actual product.
But are you conscious of having a duty of care to your customer?
I think we do have a duty of care, and I think we act upon that duty of care. Calories aren't necessarily bad things. You have to have calories to sustain life.
What's your guideline daily amount of calories a day?
I have no idea.
Does anybody calorie count? Anybody ever tried calorie counting?
No, the labels are too confusing, and you want to have a day off.
You have to start going through all the little bits and pieces and add the whole thing up.
I know, quarter, and then a half, and then 500 grams and 600 grams, and you're doing a weekly shop and there's someone waiting for a meal. You haven't time.
Especially if your kids are that and they're running around and you're trying to work things out in your head about calories and they're shouting, "Mammy, mammy, mammy," and you're just like, forget it.
And that's just the calories, because then you got to look at your salt content and your fat content, all of which just goes to make the point, is it possible to really truly be aware of what you're taking in every day?
No.
Truly scrumptious, you're truly scrumptious, scrumptious as a...
I'm beginning to see how easy it is to overeat and not even realise it. Yes, we're surrounded by temptation at every turn, but a lot of the time, Our eyes are bigger than our stomachs.
Here's the thing. I know that I should be paying really close attention to everything that goes into my food, but I don't. None of us do. I also know that I should be religiously counting the calories in my food, but again, none of us do. And perhaps that's because we kind of think of our bodies as being a last line of defense, that they should know when we're full. Our bodies should tell us when to stop eating. Shouldn't they?
The problem is, some of the foods Ireland loves don't do a very good job of filling us up. I'm meeting dietitian Dr. Dan McCartney to find out just why not all calories are the same.
What we have here are a selection of different foods. The interesting thing about all of these is that they all have an equal amount of calories. So they're all about 200 calories each. Even though these all have the same amount of calories or energy, their effects on the body are actually quite different. Here we have a type of fibre called soluble fibre. We have some insoluble fibre. With the breakfast cereal, we have lots of insoluble fibre. So these ones are going to fill you up very well, whereas this one, and indeed the chocolate, aren't going to be very good in that regard either. There's a tendency to eat more of these foods or to eat more calories from those foods. We tend to overconsume them because they don't fill us as much.
So on the first and the most very basic level, the bulkier looking foods are just going to leave you feeling full.
Yeah, little bulk, not as strong a message to the brain saying, stop, I'm full.
Not feeling full is only one problem. Those sugary or fatty foods have been labelled empty calories because they offer little or nothing in the way of other nutrients like vitamins or minerals.
With the fizzy drink here, really, from the nutritive point of view, the only thing that you're getting is sugar. So there's no vitamins, there's no minerals, there's no protein, there's certainly no fibre or filling effect.
Toot, sweets, toot, sweets.
We love empty calories, high in energy but low in other nutrients, tasty and easy to overconsume. But recently, public health bodies are focusing attention on the empty calories in sugary drinks. Declan Jackson from the Beverage Council of Ireland doesn't think his industry should be singled out.
It's interesting to note that 60% of people in Ireland do not consume sugar-sweetened drinks. Over the last 10 years, the rates of obesity in Ireland have been increasing, yet at the same time, the sale of sugar-sweetened drinks has declined by 19%. Sale of low-cal, no-cal options has increased by 36%.
Yes, fewer people are drinking sugary drinks, but those who are drinking a lot more. Over 80% of Irish teenagers drink almost a quarter litre every day.
If the sugar is added to a food which contains nutrients, then it's not as big a problem because you're actually getting, good nutrients for your body as well, and vitamins and minerals too. But if it's just empty calories and there's nothing else in it except sugar, then obviously where you have a population where 1 in 4 children and 2 in 3 adults are overweight or obese, they don't need these empty calories.
But soft drinks are only one part of our love affair with sugar. We are the world's biggest chocolate eaters. The amount of added sugar in our kids' and teenage diets is well above World Health Organization recommendations.
The thing about processed sugars, we have absolutely no physiological need for processed sugars.
We've focused on fat, sat fat, all the various elements of fat. And industry have reformulated, but they've got to replace it with something. And what are they replacing with? Sugar.
But why the concern? What is the connection between sugar and our body fat? Dan is going to give me just over 50 grams of sugar, about 200 calories, as a half litre of soft drink. He'll measure my body's reaction to all that energy with a blood sugar monitor.
All of this energy that I've just consumed now, what could my body do with it all?
Well, in reality, it can only do one of two things. It can either store it or it can